right, today we're going to do the last section that we're going to work on in chapter 9, special right triangles. In our target, we're going to learn and understand and use special right triangles. But before we get started on that, I want to remind you that this is the last week before spring break and that you have all your work due to me the Monday we come back, the 18th, to get all of the work in so it can be graded and updated for your grades. So remember, anything that was on that progress board, I'm allowing you to fix. So today, again, we're finding and understanding right triangles. So the first thing is you're going to find the side lengths of a 45, 45, 90 triangle. And then we're also going to find the side lengths of a 30, 60, 90, 30, 60, 90 degree triangles. So those are going to be our two main things that we're doing today. There's a couple things. We're going to start with our quick notes here. Our first quick note is going to be the 45, 45, 90 triangle theorem. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my paper in half so I can do my example on one side, my theorem on the other. So I'm going to fold that in half. Up here. Right, so I have my center. So in a 45, 45, 90, the hypotenuse, and this is the key on this one, the hypotenuse, which we learned last week, is across from the right angle. Is the square root of 2 times as long as each leg. So I'm going to draw this out. Got my triangle. I've got my right angle. Remember what we said, the first thing you want to do is label. So the opposite side is the hypotenuse. All right, and then we talked about opposite and adjacent. We'll talk about those in a minute. But I want to label inside of this. So we know that's 90. So this one's going to be 45 degrees. And this one's going to be 45 degrees. And this formula is the hypotenuse, which is the square root of 2. All right, we're going to put an n there. So n square root of 2 means the hypotenuse is equal to the leg. Say this is a leg and this is a leg, all right, times the square root of 2. So that's going to be our formula. So, on the other side, we're going to put our example. This A, and it's going to say find the value of x. Find the value of x, and I want you to draw this triangle. And you're going to label the right angle. Label the inside. This is 45, which we know these are 45, so this is 45, that's 45, that's 90. And outside we have an 8 and an x. So the first thing you've got to do is you've got to label your triangle. So I've got my right angle, I'm going to draw across, that is your hypotenuse. So our formula was the hypotenuse, and I'm just going to abbreviate that, HYP equals the leg times the square root of 2. So the next thing you've got to do is you've got to fill in for your hypotenuse and your leg. All right, so our hypotenuse, we know, we come back over here because we know it's across from the right angle, is going to be x. So my x is going to go right underneath my hypotenuse. Okay? And then it says leg. Well, the only leg we have is this, because both of these are labeled legs. And remember, we were looking at 45. This is across from it. This is our 8. So it's going to be 8 times the square root of 2. So our answer is just going to be x equals 8 square root of 2. So not hard. Right? That's one of the easier ones because you really don't have to do any math when you're looking for the hypotenuse as your x. Now, it gets a little bit more tricky when you have the second triangle. So I'm going to draw the second triangle. And you've got 5 square root of 2. I've got an x, I've got an x, and my square root is right here. All right, so again, the first thing you gotta do is label. So that I gotta find my hypotenuse. So this is my hypotenuse, which makes this a leg and this a leg. I'll write my formula so that I have it. So that hypotenuse equals a leg times the square root of 2. So now you got to substitute. So I'm substituting what my hypotenuse is. My hypotenuse that I know is 5 square root of 2. So I'm going to fill that in. 5 square root of 2 equals my leg. Well, it doesn't matter which one you take. All right. So I'm going to just take x times the square root of 2. Now this one's harder because you've got to get the x by itself. The whole idea is you've got to get the x by itself. Well, we know the opposite of multiplying, all right, is dividing. So all I have to do is I've got to take and divide both sides by the square root of 2. Now what makes this easy at this point is it's always going to cancel out your square root of 2. Okay? So it's always going to cross that out. Which means my answer is going to be 5 equals x. All right, so there's just one extra step, but if you can remember, if the x is in front of the square root of 2, it's going to end up canceling out, and whatever that whole number is over there is what it's going to be. All right, so we're going to do a try it. This is where we're going to pause the video, and you're going to try it. So before I pause the video, I'm going to go ahead and draw. So you have it. Again, first thing you need to do is you need to take and find your hypotenuse. So go ahead and pause the video. All right, so hopefully you paused the video. So the first thing I said was find your hypotenuse. I'm going to write my formula. Hypotenuse equals the leg times the square root of 2. So my hypotenuse, I know, is x equals my leg, which is either one of these, and they're always going to be the same length because it's a 45/40, times the square root of 2. So this one's easy because your answer is just going to be x equals 22 square root of 2. All right, we're going to do one more try it. I'm going to do it over here. So I want you to draw this triangle. My right angle. And I've got an X and an X. So again, I'm going to write my formula. Okay. And then you're going to fill in. Make sure you label. All right, so this one, I'm going to make sure that you're getting it. So what you're going to do is you're going to do that one, and then where it says notes in Canvas, you're going to take and upload the picture of that so I can see that you did it. I'm not going to put the answer there. I want you to try it on your own and upload it. All right, I am going to go to example number 2, and I have to do a second page. So I'm going to do 9.2, special right triangles. Page 2. And then I'm going to split this in half. Have it. All right, so we did 45, 45, 90. So our quick notes on this one is going to be on our 30, 60, 90 triangle theorem. So in this one, the hypotenuse is twice. We know twice means 2, as long as the shorter leg and the longer leg is the square root of 3 times as long as the shorter leg. And I know that's a lot of words to be thinking. Okay, so 30, 60, 90 triangle theorem. The hypotenuse is twice as long as the shorter leg, and the longer leg is the square root of 3 as long as the shorter leg. All right, so I'm going to do a triangle here. And I've got my 90-degree here. And I've got 60 in here. And I've got 30 in here. We know that this, again, we've got a label, so this is your hypotenuse, okay? So this is, hypotenuse is 2 times, so this would be 2 times n, 2 times the leg. Then I have the longer leg, all right? And the way we look at longer, the longer leg is because this is 60. That means this down here is the longer leg. All right, because it's cross from 60 is going to be n to the square root of 3. And the shorter leg is your original n. So because it goes across, this is your shorter and it's your n. So notice that all 3 of these have n in them. Okay, so if you have this leg, you can find the hypotenuse real quick. You just multiply 2 times whatever this number is. And here, all you do is put the n in front. So notice all 3 of them have n in them. So let's do the first example. All right, so it says find the values of x and y. So find the values of x and y. Draw a triangle. Got my right triangle here, and I have 60 up top, and I've got 30 down here. So again, label them first. So here's my right angle, so that means this side is the hypotenuse, and we said it is 2n. Okay, my shorter one, 30, so cross from my 30 is going to be just my n, and then across from my 60, coming down this way, which is my longer leg, which is n square root of 3. So I'm going to write this. Let's do this and do it in black. So my hypotenuse is my y, this is my x, and this is my 9. So those are the numbers that I have. All right, so I'm going to write my formula out. So I'm going to put longer leg is equal to shorter leg times square root of 3. So let's fill this in. My longer leg, remember it's cross from 60, so my longer leg is 9 equals my shorter leg. I'm going to cross from my 30, which is n, or my x, I should say, x times the square root of 3. So just like in the other item, we're going to take and get rid of the square root of 3. So that means I have to divide by 3, divide by 3. That gives me 9 square root of 3 equals x, because my square root of 3's cancel out. Now, the rule of thumb is you cannot leave the square root of 3 in the bottom. So in order to get rid of that on these problems, you're going to multiply it times itself. So square root of 3, square root of 3. Okay? Because what happens when you multiply 3 times 3, all right, it gives you 9, which is a perfect square. And this is where we had the lesson on perfect squares. So this right here becomes the square root of 9, and it becomes 9 over square root of 3. This right here is a perfect square, so it's literally going to come out to 9 square root of 3 over 3. The last thing you have to do is reduce. 3 goes into 9 3 times. All right, so your answer is going to be 3 square root of 3 equals x. So the hardest part on this is to remember to multiply times your square root of 3 and then reducing. Know that whatever you multiply, it's going to be a perfect square, because when you multiply a number by itself, what we learned a couple of Fridays ago, we had a lesson on square roots, that's where that comes out. So I found my x. Okay, so that just, it takes some practice of doing these, okay? So that was the first one, and that was finding x. Now we need to go find the value of y. So this one was finding x, and I'll write that up there. Finding x is this one. All right, so now we're going to find the value of y. All right, we're using the exact same here because we're looking for the y. Okay, so I'm going to write my formula again. The longer leg equals the shorter leg times the square root of 3. So my longer leg, okay, is across from my 60. So 60 come down here, it's 9 again. Okay, or I'll take that back. Oops. Whoops. I messed that up. Because what am I looking at? Y is what? My hypotenuse. So that means I have to go back, okay? And I've got to find my y. So my hypotenuse, and I wrote long leg where I should have, that's what my problem is. See, we all make mistakes. I didn't use the second formula. Second formula is hypotenuse equals the shorter leg times 2. This was trying to do the same formula, and it's not, because this is the shorter leg. All right? So our hypotenuse on this is y equals my shorter leg, which we found my shorter leg, which was x right here, was 3, square root of 3, times 2. This is actually the easiest part, because all you have to do is multiply the 3 times the 2, which gives you 6, square root of 3. And I'm sorry I messed up on that hypotenuse. Okay, so it's hypotenuse, which if we look back up at my hypotenuse is y. Okay, my shorter leg, come back up to my shorter leg. Well, we found x, which was my shorter leg, right here is 3 square root of 3. So that's where my 3 square root of 3 times 2. Okay? So you know what? I'm going to come back over here and I want to write these out. I want hypotenuse equals shorter leg times 2. And then I have my longer leg, which equals the shorter leg times the square root of 3. Okay, so having those might help. All right, we're going to do one try it. All right. So I'm going to pause the video. And draw this out before you pause it. All right, pause the video and try it. All right, hopefully you pause it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label my hypotenuse. I'm going to label my longer leg, and I'm going to label my short leg. And then I'm going to take and make sure that I put n square root of 3 here. My shorter leg is n, and this one would be 2 times n. All right, so the first one we're going to do is find the hypotenuse. Equals the shorter leg, and I'm going to abbreviate this, times 2. So if I'm looking at this, my hypotenuse, okay, my hypotenuse is 30, so I'm filling in for that, equals my shorter leg. I don't know my shorter leg, okay, it's my y. I should have labeled this y. It's actually my y, okay, so my short leg is y times 2. So we know any variable multiplied, the opposite to solve it would be to divide. So I'm going to divide by 2, divide by 2. That gives me 15 equals my y. All right. Then I'm going to go write the other one. So I've used my first formula here, and now I'm going to use my second one. So that is my longer leg. Longer leg equals the shorter leg times the square root of 3. All right, so my longer leg in this case is across from my 60. It's going to be my x equals my shorter leg, which we found the shorter leg to be 15, times the square root of 3. And there really isn't any solving in this because it's all on the same side, so it's 15 square root of 3. All right, so there is 9.2, solving 30, 60, and 90 triangles. So we're going to give you some practice problems on that. And then tomorrow we will do some more practice. Thursday will be your assessment, and Friday will be a little bit of a makeup day on some items.